Hi, I'm Joshua Leung. Today we're going to look at a song that incorporates slap house elements in pop production. If you're looking into produce in the style of Imanbek, R3HAB, or Dynoro, this is the video for you. Now, even though the song we're looking at today is not really an EDM type song, it's a pop song that incorporated a lot of slap house and, in general, house elements. So I thought it would be cool to break it down so that we can all learn a little bit about slap house, or even if you're already an EDM producer, how to incorporate certain house elements into your pop production. The song we're going to look at today is called Eyes on You by a C-pop artist called He. I wrote this song with my good friend Yui, who is an amazing top liner, and I did the track productions for this. So when I first came up with the concept of this song, I wanted to try something that can incorporate that atmospheric elements of a slap house song. When it starts and when it's building up, and then when, the chorus or the drop comes in, it's very dry and punchy, basically very minimalistic with, the kick, the bass, and then when the hi-hat comes in, and then the chords come in. Really wanted to try that, and I thought this song did that, and especially with Yui's top line, I think it turned out great. So let's take a listen. I'm going to play it from the first verse to the end of the first chorus. Yeah, let's look at it one by one. Starting with the first verse, the song comes in with a bass that's more sustained. So I had the kick going, and then there's this more sustained type bass. So you can check it out here. Okay, cool. So without all the plugins, this bass sounds like this. So it's more like leveled, and I wanted to add movement to it, so I added shaper box. Some people use kickstart. Basically what it does is it makes it pump. But if you notice here, here's the mix knob. Okay, let's say if I have the mix knob at 100. If I hold it at 100, let's see what happens. What it does is that it's going to pump on every quarter note, but I wanted that attack in the very first quarter note. So I did an automation, and basically if you notice the mix knob here is turned to 0, and then starting from the beat 2, it goes to 100. That way, the very first one you can hear the attack, and then the pumping start. Yeah, and then the EQ, it's just kind of taking off something below like 20 or 27, stuff I don't need. So that's the bass. The kick is just 4 on the floor. And I did some automation as far as the kick goes, and maybe I can get more into it later on in the song. But basically, there's an SSL, I don't think I'm using the compression here, but it has some saturation from the console. And then I guess the big part is I did give it a little bump in the low end. And I did that slightly differently in the verse and the chorus. So yeah, maybe we can look into more of the kick when we get to the chorus. So here, as you can probably hear, there are these 2 pluck sounds that goes on. So let's take a listen. Yeah, this one is more like a bell, you know, with these noise here, and then with this one as a counter melody. I added quite a lot of verb. Let's try it without the verb. Okay, it's a lot shorter there. With the verb, which is this one by Valhalla Vintage Verb. Just a more haunting character, you know. Really love this reverb plugin. Looks like that's it for the first parts of verse. And then starting in the pre-chorus, a bit more stuff comes in. There's a reverse plug 3 that I did here right before the pre-chorus, so we can check that out. So it goes in like this. Yeah, so I did the 4-on-the-floor kick in the verse, and then in the pre-chorus I took it out. So it's transition feels kind of like this. So in here, what I wanted to do is I added this plug, which actually plays the same melody. So there was this melody with plug 3, right? And then I added plug 4 here. So it's playing the same notes, but another layered sound. So this one, using Serum, you can check the settings here, which I thought sounded great here. So together, it's what I think, you know, where the magic happens. So in the pre-chorus, I changed the bass into this one of the Reese bass, which sounds like this. Yeah, what I love about the sound is in the glide. So the portamento had it around here. I put it in mono, clicking legato on, so it has that little glide in between the notes like this. Okay, if the portamento right now is 200, if you have it at 0, it sounds like this. Yeah, it doesn't have that glide, that kind of haunting character again. So I added this snap right here. Let's bypass the filter freak here. Okay, it's a lot brighter, and I wanted something that's darker. So whip it on. Yeah, and I think it works better in this part of the song. So. Yeah, and as you can see, there are these fills and risers that kind of add to that intensity. And so what I love about Slap House is, you know, they get you all hyped up and all intense, go into the drop, and then boom, suddenly, well, nothing happens, but only the kick and the bass dominates the song. So that's what I love about it. So let's check that out. Yeah, as far as the drum goes, this first part is actually very simple. As you can hear, it's the 4-on-the-floor kick, and then there's like the clap on the 2 and the 4, so it's like this. Okay, and then the hi-hat comes in playing the offbeat of the 8 notes, so it's like this. That happens midway. So after that's explained, I think the bass is what I think is cool about this song. So let's check out the bass. It's like this. So quite a lot of syncopation going on. Let me turn on the kick so we can hear like where everything lands. Okay, great. So there are these reverse bass down here, which we'll explain in a little bit, but let's start with bass 1 first. Okay, so here's the first bass. Let me take off these inserts. Take a listen. Yeah, as you might have guessed, the shaper box is doing a pump, kind of like a sidechain pump. So it gives it that movement. Now, especially if you listen to it here. Okay, without this shaper box, it's going to hit right on the beat 1 right here. Dot, 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 dot. Okay, with it on, see, it's being pressed right down here. So that's what it gives it that little groove right here. Yeah, okay. And then I added an EQ. It's going to make more sense as we look at the other bass. Now, because I had 3 bass going all stacked together, I have to make room for each of them. So this one, I filter out what's below 59 hertz, I think. I think the sound of it, this feels like a main bass to me. And so let's listen to number 2. Okay, this is more like a sub. Okay, yeah, indeed, it's a sub. You know, simple 0-1 sub. So this one gives me that low end. It's playing the same notes, so play it together. Okay, just bass 1. With it. Okay, it's a lot more powerful because bass 2 covers that low end. Okay, let's check out bass 3. Oh, okay, by the way, 3 of them, they all have that same shaper box pumping effect. It's the same one, so they all pumps the same. EQ-wise, different. So bass 2, I'm keeping quite a lot of the lows, so I'm only filtering below 20. And then this bass 3, I think it has that, it pokes out, so it gives it that extra snap and punch. Okay, with bass 1 together. Okay, just bass 1. With it. Yeah, it definitely has that snappiness. So that's why together it snaps on top and then it has the sub in the bottom. Let's take a look at the EQ of bass 3. Okay, this one 40. Okay, so I guess to me, after tweaking stuff, I feel like this is the nice blend. Yeah, so I went with that. One thing I do want to mention though is for slap house, a big part is actually the notes you play. For me, it took me some time to find the groove that I want. Okay, these black notes are muted, so you don't hear them. So if you just listen to the song. Yeah, so I thought it was a little tricky, but I found a swing setting that I like. In Studio One, there are these different quantized options, and the 16 note 60% swing is the one I chose for this song. So I use that for quite a lot of spots. Yeah, so these syncopation along with the swing gives the song that groove. Now there are certain spots that actually kept a more straight 16 note. So if you look at this note right here, it's actually to the grid of the 16 note and not to the swing. So it just takes some experimentation. Try out different things and see, you know, what makes a great groove. And then after trying a bunch of stuff, this is the one I landed on. And then as you can see, there are some extra notes, and then I found out maybe I don't need some of them, just muted them, and this is what we get. So if I turn on the click, And then after listening to some of these amazing EDM producers, I found that some of them love to use a reverse bass in a certain part of the drop. So I'm going to look at this one last. The first two are based on the same sound. So basically I bounce these into audio and then I reverse them. Yeah. Usually, actually for me, when I finish a song, I always bounce them to audio. But I thought when we look at the songs, I know a lot of you like to look at what goes on in the MIDI. So that's why I pull up the MIDI so we can all look at it. But after bouncing into audio, these are these little reverse that I did. I think that it's cool, but because the bass, a lot of them are dead center. And so I thought, what if we have another reverse, playing the same notes, but it's actually wider. So I added this to give it that width. Yeah, if you listen to this by itself, yeah, it's much wider. And for the listener, I feel like it suddenly like jokes you, be like, oh, like it gives you a little shock. Be like, oh, what's happening right there? And they might not notice it, but they actually definitely heard it. So. Yeah. Okay. Cool. So here's this chop that you just heard. It sounds like this. Okay. If I take off everything, it sounds like this. Love. Sounds like love. I actually just added a drive using Alter Boy. Love. And then filter out some high frequencies. Love. And then I think what makes the sound is the Valhalla delay. Love. Yeah, this is a very long, even though it's a delay plugin, there are some reverb presets here. The settings are like this. So as you notice, there is actually quite a lot of noise with certain settings on this reverb. And they did that on purpose. So I added this gate. So the gate can kind of quiet it down when it's not playing. I think this noise is actually part of the algorithm and what makes this delay plugin amazing. But if you don't need all that white noise in the back for the entire song, you can always use a gate to control it. So once we have that, I think this adds a nice touch to the song. Another part of the haunting character, but this time in the drop, whereas everything is dry and punchy up front, there's like this little chop in the back. Okay, let's check out the post hook, which has a lot of new stuff coming in. Cool. So there are these chords here. Sorry, settings right here. Yeah, so keys. Cool. And besides that, there are these two elements playing this melody right here. I think it's synth 1. Let me check out synth 1 first. Nice. The other one, oh, it is plug 1 indeed. Okay, so it doesn't play all the notes, but it plays some of the notes. So together, it's like this. Yeah, I really like this plug 1 because it adds that aggressiveness to this melody. Yeah, because without it, this is what you get. Right? Kind of like a feathery sound on top, and then together it's like this. Yeah, and it works great. And down here, the one I just played is called Stab 1. Yeah, again, there is Shaperbox doing the side chain. And one thing I do want to point out for this particular sound, though, is actually I filter out very aggressively. The sound originally is like this. which has a lot of low end. But because I already have a lot of bass doing all these movements, I wanted just the top of this. So, okay, and did the shaper box. Again here, using automation, just the very beginning of it, it's at 0, I think. And then it pops up to 100 again if you look at here. Yeah, again, I wanted that attack in the beginning, and then after that, I want the pump. And then there's another hi-hat that comes in here. So this adds to the offbeat hi-hat. And then there is another, oh, right here, this bell. I think it works nicely. So I use that as like a counter melody. If you check it out. Nice, and there's also one more pad right here. Same thing, there's the side chain. And then in here, I use an imager. So without the imager, it's like this. Okay, with it. Okay, and what this does is it allows you to split the sound using the EQ. So in here, I set it at 459 or 460. And above that, so these higher frequencies, I have them wider. So you can see here. And then these ones here, they're wider than being dead center, but they are not as wide as this sound right here. So the cool thing about that is that, you know, only the higher frequencies are being pushed to the side. So that helps a lot of stuff. It helps your chorus so that it sounds more exciting, because suddenly it feels like everything is wider. Because in the middle of the mix, there's, you know, all the kick, the bass. If everything is in the middle, then there's no space for everything. So if you put some of the higher sounds to the side, suddenly it opens up. The other good thing about putting more high frequency content to the side is because the vocal is also in the middle. So you want to leave space for that too. So I think that covers the main elements of the chorus or the drop, as well as the post hook. And in this song, the second verse is actually quite a bit different. And that's quite common in pop production, whereas the whole song is more like house 4 under the floor. You want to give the listener something new in the verse these days. So I tried some different things and then ended up with this, so you can check it out. Yeah, so I was imagining that this could be like a rap section. So I did more of a 808, more urban or hip hop type influenced beat right here. As you notice, the bass is no longer the bass we had before. It's a 808 right here. Okay, these two 808s are actually the same thing. So here's the first one. You can check it out. Which is great, but I wanted it to be more aggressive. But if I change everything in one track, let's say I make it more distorted, more aggressive, it's going to lose that low end. So what I did is I basically copied this into a new track, and I processed this track heavily. So what I did is I did a punish, which if you have used Decapitator before, you know that the punish button, it's going to give it a lot of distortion. These are my settings. So it sounds like this. But the other thing is I'm filtering out the low. So I'm only affecting the top end on this. Let me take a listen without the decapitator, but only with the EQ. Right, so a lot of the lows are being filtered out here, and with the decapitator, it's like this. Yes, and if you notice, there is an automation here with the drive as well as the output. And I think that just has to do with how this particular 808 sounded on these notes. And at this part of the song, I kind of wanted that punch, the aggressiveness, the extra excitement, right? And, you know, only on that one bar. So that's what we did. Yeah, so I think it's... yes, so in this one beat, I think I muted most of the other stuff. So if I mute the 808, we'll be able to hear it. Yeah, so I muted a lot of stuff here. And actually some of it in audio form, I completely muted it. Basically muted out some elements and then pop out the 808 for some extra excitement there. Yeah, and for this section, I think one thing that I think is kind of cool to look at is this pluck right here. It's actually based on our original melody, which appeared in verse 1. Okay, so let's say if I take out all the inserts, it sounds like this. Yeah, it's actually the same melody as the verse, but with just a little bit of these sections being muted or chopped off. But it's the same thing. The only difference, these are some basic EQ and volume automation. The big thing is this right here, this one. So Shape of Box is pretty cool. Besides doing the volume swells, it actually has a lot of effects. There's time to drive. You can automate a lot of different effects. And the one that's very interesting is called time. So this is the particular setting that I used, and it makes it sound like this. It's almost like it has this reverse type effect with it, but I tried a bunch of stuff and I ended up with this, and I thought it's cool. Oh, and I even automated, as you see, the mix knob on the time. So this right here, it's being automated. So I wanted something new, but I don't want the listener to feel like this just came out of nowhere and is unrelated to the song. So what I did was I took elements that they heard before and tried to manipulate it in a way that's, you know, fresh to their ears and new. And I thought this sounded pretty interesting. So the second chorus, second pre-chorus are mostly the same. So let's take a listen to this dance break. Nice. Okay, so let's look at them one by one. Now that we're already down here, let's look at all these elements that plays the chords, the plugs, and all that. So they're down here. Yeah, so basically a lot of chops, a lot of stops to give it that excitement. Yeah. The kick here does this little fill and it's quantized to the swing. That's why it has that swing feel. The thing that changes is really the kick as well as these synth elements down here. So I reversed some of it, muted some of it in certain sections, chopped them, and the end result is this. Yeah, in the third pre-chorus, I think the main difference besides, the fills and the risers, the big difference is actually this pluck right here. It only appears once in the song, so. And also this. Yeah, it looks like there are 3 elements. So the first one, pluck 5, which I already played, and the midway. Okay, this lead, and then there's like this pad 3 here. It gives it that extra lift. Yeah, and then the chorus kicks in again. Yeah, so I think that's about it for this song. What I love about it is the simplicity. I think the elements can be simple, but I think finding that right groove, once you have like a nice melody and nice groove, the rest is much easier. You can stack sounds, mix it up to a place you like it. And sometimes for extra sections, you don't even have to come up with an entirely new chord progression or new sound. You can manipulate elements you already have and see what happens. If that doesn't work, then you can always introduce new stuff. But I think this song kind of has that simplicity, but also some complexity. Yeah, so hope you enjoyed that. I started this channel to build a community of aspiring producers and songwriters so that we can all make the music we love and also produce professional results. If that sounds interesting to you, please like and subscribe. And as usual, the session files of this song is available. You can check it out in the link in the description. And if you have any questions, just let me know. Until next time, bye-bye.